Last week, my V10 BMW M6 experienced an unexpected electrical shutdown. I've just lost power steering, just driving absolutely normally, and I've got a Christmas tree in front of me. Transmission fault, servotronic failure, PDC failure, dynamic damping control fault. I'm gonna have to pull over here. I took the car into RBM Hampshire, however there were no clear signs as to what could be causing this.
At the moment it's not actually faulting, is it? So
no, I think we're basically kind of none the wiser to an extent. But S85 expert Aaron strongly suggested that we try changing the alternator. He's had lots of experience working on these V10 engines and says that any slight issue with the alternator can cause exactly the sort of problems that I was having. So under the bonnet of an S85 is like your natural habitat, isn't it?
Yeah, I like working on these. These are cool car. It's like a Formula One, isn't it? It's something different. They're not common. Obviously they're common for people like us that obviously see them quite regularly.
Yeah.
But it's a good engine. So as long as you look after them, they are good engines. They get a lot of stick from a lot of people I find that don't actually know a lot. They go on the forums and, for example, that one person that had that car didn't look after it and they get all the problems, and it's like, well, what do you sort of expect?
And that's exactly why this M6 is getting the treatment that it deserves. In the last year, it's had a new battery, both throttle actuators done, new ignition coils, a rebuilt rear axle differential, a new clutch, flywheel and entire replacement SMG gearbox alongside 2 major services. And that's been a total spend of, wait for it, £8,800.
No! God, please, no! No!
Before long, I think my mechanics will probably be flying first class to Barbados. So let's get started then. Although this can be done from above, it's easier if you have got a ramp to do this from underneath. So first things first, the under tray needs to come away and the anti-roll bar is moved out of the way too. And there's the alternator, which you'll notice is pretty much right at the bottom of the engine.
Is that the alternator coming out now then?
It is indeed.
Whoa. Would there be anything that we could see on this that would indicate it's not been working properly, or is it internal?
It's more internal. So you see inside that it's quite corroded.
Oh, and yeah, right in there, yeah.
Yeah, maybe it has got a couple of layers of rust on a couple of the brushes, and then it sort of freaks out as soon as it goes past them. But it might not all be like that, seeing as where you haven't got a charging issue like constantly.
Yeah.
It's more intermittent.
Yeah, because it's funny, because literally when we were done yesterday and we didn't find any faults or anything, you then reversed it out the unit.
And it pinged straight up, yeah.
And then it came up with charging fault.
Yeah.
So and then you put the voltometer on it and it was low, wasn't it?
It wasn't charging at all. So
that's really interesting. So it needs replacing.
100%.
And it was only 135 quid plus VAT, I think, for this unit.
You'd think they'd be quite more expensive.
Yeah, I would have thought it would have been like 500 or 600
actually, they're not too bad, but this is obviously a genuine unit.
And what is it we're replacing it with? It's like a...
So this would be a Lucas, but they are remanufactured, so it would be a genuine alternator.
Right.
So basically Valeo,
Yeah,
see it just there, actually manufacture it for BMW.
I see.
So obviously you can see Lucas have remanufactured it, but it's actually a Valeo alternator.
Oh, okay.
And you can see it.
And you can see obviously in there, that's how it should
Yeah,
look.
that's how it should look.
Oh, that's nice.
Nice and painted. So
Nothing like a nice shiny new part. So you're going to do that from the bottom as well?
Yeah, we'll put it all back in from the bottom.
So you can see the old alternator has a bit of corrosion on the brushes inside, which could definitely be causing my issue. In fact, it's almost certainly going to be causing some issues. And when spinning the old alternator by hand, this one feels a little bit more resistant, let's say, than the brand new one. So you heard the man, the alternator goes back in the same way the old one came out. Bit of a fiddly job, and actually this thing is quite heavy. I'm glad it's not me doing it today. And once this is all back in and secured, Aaron will put back all those bits and bobs that he dropped, including the anti-roll bar and of course the under tray, back together. We'll drop the car down and then change the belt. So time now to change the belt, and apparently the BMW workshop manual tells you that you need to remove the radiator to gain access, although that's not entirely true. Although it's a tight squeeze, it is possible to change the belt without moving the radiator. What does need to be removed though is this large plastic fan, and I'm told that these are particularly expensive to replace and actually really hard to come by. so you want to be extremely careful with this. Nonetheless, gaining access to these components that you wouldn't ordinarily see gives us a good opportunity to treat them to a little bit of a clean. The belt looks like it's in good condition, so realistically probably didn't need changing, but I think it's just a nice thing to do for peace of mind, considering a belt is 20 quid and can cause such havoc if it goes wrong. It's always a good idea if you have the opportunity to change the belt.
So we've replaced the alternator today and the drive belts. While we was in there, we had a quick, obviously, inspection with all the pulleys. Everything looks okay. No play with any of the pulleys or any bad bearings. Like the idle pulleys or the tensioners. All the belts are fine, so they'll all be good to go now with the fresh alternator, so hopefully you shouldn't have any more charging faults.
Fingers crossed.
That's always the way, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
So hopefully it should all be good.
Yeah, I'll use it now for a few weeks, see how it goes. I mean, if I don't get any faults like in the next week, then it's probably done it.
Also,
so
yeah.
I will let you know. But I'm sure before long I'll be back here anyway with either something else that's broken or
get you in for
the
rod bearings. Yeah.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Aaron.
No worries.
I suppose we should see if it still runs.
Yeah? Give it a go.
All seems to be running nicely. See the new alternator working away in there, and no charging fault has come up on the dash, so that's a good sign, because that was pretty much doing it every time I started the car. Seems to be running nice.
Yeah, it's all running good. No charging faults on the dash.
That's good.
So yeah, it should be all fixed.
Happy days.
You can drive it for more miles.
So all seems good, starting the car up, no charging fault on the dash, which was something that would happen maybe 50% of the time, so time will only tell. In fact, tomorrow morning I've got a bit of a road trip to do, and I'm going to take the M6 because this will be the perfect time to scrutineer it. The cost for that then, well, the alternator was £134 plus VAT, the belt £32 plus VAT, and 2 hours of labour at £120 an hour, including VAT, meaning the total bill just under £440. Now, if that fixes the car and means that I have no more of these electronical breakdowns, to me that would be money very well spent indeed. That's pretty mad though, because that takes us painstakingly close to the £10,000 threshold in terms of money spent on this car in just the last year. And full disclosure, all but one of those bills I have covered myself. The bill for the throttle actuators and rebuilt rear axle differential was covered by the previous owner to the tune of £2,700. So with the purchase price of £6,000 and my total maintenance spend of around £6,500, this car now owes me about £12,500. But so far, I've absolutely loved owning this car, and fingers crossed, it's all going to be worth it. Well, good morning. So then, we've got about 300 miles to drive today. This will be the furthest I've ever attempted to drive in this car since I bought it about 4 months ago. But we had the alternator and the belt put on yesterday. The car drove back fine. I had no issues. So I've got my fingers crossed that today is going to go well. I'm off to visit my friends at Heel and Toe Cars to film a couple of videos. I'll show you quickly in this video the two cars I'm filming because they're quite special. But it's about 150 miles there, all the way up to near Sudbury in, I think it's Essex. So normally I'd take the Jaguar XF, that's my daily driver. For days like this, I would use that ordinarily, but we're gonna take this. So this is going to be the first cold start since we had the alternator done. This, I would say, is where we're really likely to get a charging fault. Now I expect one bonk, and that's for the parking sensors. It's when we start the engine, however, that I'm expecting, well, I'm really hoping we don't have a problem. Okay. Please, Lord. This is BMW ownership, people. All right, we're gonna do it. We're gonna go. Let's start. Okay. It's a smooth, cold start. no charging fault. Yes. Okay. All right. Let's do it. 151 miles. Wish me luck. So guys, amazingly, we are almost here and we're still driving issue free. I don't want to jinx it, we've got 10 minutes to go. But the thing's been wonderful. In all fairness, it's been an extremely mundane drive, just a tour of the M25 essentially. But in all fairness, this car, as you might expect, does remarkably well at just the mundane stuff. 70 miles an hour, cruise control, and the fuel economy, the MPG that I've got on this journey, I don't think you're going to believe. Comment below now, I'll tell you in a second, but comment below what you think 150 miles of a motorway run I've done in my NA V10 M6. I think you'll be surprised. But I'm gonna say I think the alternator has done the trick, which I am so relieved about. I mean, I genuinely, when it had that electrical meltdown, I really did think water ingress, wiring looms, just a nightmare was unfolding, and I thought, you know, the car was going to have to be parked up and investigated for months on end, let alone what the cost of it was all going to be. And of course, I do still need to address the preventative stuff like rod bearings. Yeah, throttle actuators and gearbox have been done, which is really good, but the rod bearings still need looking at. So I really wasn't up for that, if I'm honest with you. But yeah, touch wood, the alternator seems to have done the trick. So yeah, 140 miles done, absolutely no problem. I'm hoping it'll be the same on the way back, but if you don't hear from me again in this video, you can assume it was. So I'm just about to arrive at Heel and Toe. When we get there, I'll show you the MPG, I'll show you what I'm driving, and then we'll probably end the video there. But oh, I am so relieved, and thank you to RBM and to Aaron in particular, because the alternator was clearly, I think, a really good shout. So, arrived at Heel and Toe Cars then, over here near Sudbury, and what am I driving today? Well, I was going to drive this, which is a Z4M Roadster, as most of you will know, but unsurprisingly this sold before I could get to it. So, beautiful spec, grey with red interior, absolutely lovely. So instead, oh no, what a bad day, I'm going to drive this. It's a manual RS4 Avant, and obviously this is the generation that had the 4.2 litre V8. High revving, actually has the same red line as my V10 M6 8250. Same V8 that they then put in the R8 when that came out in 2007. So yeah, this is a Avant, which means it's the estate car, and I'm going to be reviewing that today. And then once I'm done with that, we're going to jump in this, which is a really low mileage 996 Carrera 2. And Carrera 2 meaning it's rear wheel drive. Also a manual car, only on 50k. And it's actually exactly the same money as the RS4. I think these are both advertised at just under £19,000. So I'm actually tremendously excited about the RS4. I've never driven one of them before. I've driven a few of these. But this one's going to be particularly nice. And yeah, they've got some gorgeous, gorgeous stuff in here. That's not my old Z3. It is in fact a different one, but again, very low mileage. I think 40,000 miles on that Z3, in much better condition than the one I had. Oxford green metallic E46 Touring. That'll be sold before this video goes out, I would have thought. And beautiful DB7, just like the one I drove before. In fact, is it the one I drove before? No, because it's a manual one. Oh, and there was one other car I was coming here to drive, but again, sold before I could get to it. This is a real shame, but look at it. It's a facelift, so 2009 Vantage with the 4.7 Vantage S Roadster. Absolutely gorgeous. And this one with a manual gearbox, but yeah, as you might expect, sold very quickly. So not one that I'm able to review today, but yeah, RS4 911, they'll be coming to the channel very soon. And if you've made it this far into the video, well, thank you very much. And as promised, I'm going to tell you now what my car got in terms of MPG on this drive up to Heel and Toe. What were your guesses again? Well, you're wrong. I managed an average of 21.4 miles per gallon, which actually now I'm saying it doesn't sound awfully great, but I guess considering the car, it's really not such bad going. Thank you all so much for following the saga with the M6 so far. I'm pleased to say that I think we're finally getting to the bottom of this thing, getting it running well, and as I mentioned, there's just a few preventative bits left to do. So on that note, where are you going to take this car? If you're me, where are you taking this on a road trip? I'm thinking Germany for the Nürburgring and the de-restricted Autobahn, but also maybe the Isle of Man, again, for lack of speed limits and to revisit the Top Gear episode that inspired me to buy this car in the first place. Comments below.